music in Jamaica called reggae, which has been around for years under the disguise of ska, blue beat, etc., but it finally formed itself into reggae. And that's about the really newest thing that's happened in music in the last 5 years or 6 years.
Do you think anything new happens to music, or is it a continual series of cycles, and that maybe 100,000 years ago somebody had the same kind of beat or the same kind of whatever it is that makes it different, and that maybe the whole thing is just going in cycles, or are we in fact discovering things all the time?
I think there's something to the cycle thing, but I think if you apply the cycle idea to it, that's a cycle for everything, not just music. You know? Mm-hmm. But it's snowballing either just because of electricity or because of all the garbage everybody picks up, because we keep inventing things, right? So it does change, and it has cycles in a way, like I think the whole whatever it is, the universe is a series of cycles. But the music has to change because they keep inventing new things, like, films change, it's now video, so it's, in that way it's different.
But don't you know that in about 1988 there's going to be a group come out that is going to pick right back to the sound that you guys had in the since you're 15 years old, and all kinds of critics and all kinds of writers are going to say, wow, look at this, we've got this whole new sound that's reminiscent of the Beatles back in the 60s.
Well, they'll probably be playing Gurch blobs and Zakdungas, right? They'll have new instruments, and although rock and roll was brand new when it came out and excited everybody, it was it had roots in blues and jazz, so in that way they would have their roots in the 60s, 70s, and possibly further back. But you can't say that rock and roll is like the 20s music, although if you look for it, you can find out where it came from. Mm-hmm. And you can find out where Beatles music came from, or any music came from. It's just like it has its history.
Before we get into your immigration status, and we'll bring Mr. Wilds out at that time.
Hooray!
Hooray! And that is a controversy for you and for people who would want you to stay in this country. You've been involved in some other mini controversies, like the time that you were on the cover of the album without any clothes on, and like the time that you and Yoko had everybody or invited people to come into the bedroom while you were there.
We held a bed-in for peace,
A bed-in for peace, exactly. Mm. Why do you do those things? And I don't ask you that because I want to engender some flip response from you, but what does that gain for you as John Lennon, or what does it gain for the cause of peace in the case of the bed-in for you to do something like that?
Yoko and I, when we got together, decided that whatever we did was going to be in the papers, mm-hmm. Whether it's Richard or Liz or so-and-so gets married or whatever people like us do is going to be in the papers. So we decided to utilize the space we would occupy anyway by getting married with a commercial for peace, and also a theatrical event. And the theatrical event we came up with, which utilized the least energy with the maximum effect, was to work from bed. And what we virtually had was a 7-day press conference in bed, where the press fought. The first day they fought at the door to get in, thinking there was something, sexy going on. And then they
licentious.
That was the word I was looking for. And they found two people talking about peace, And reporters always have 5 minutes with you, or 10 minutes with you. We let them ask anything for as long as they wanted for 7 days. And all the time we just kept plugging peace. And the story that came out was John and Yoko do bed-in for peace. And we were just promoting peace, like you promote any product. They promote war, join the Marines, join this. We were promoting peace. Mm-hmm. The Naked album cover was less general than that. Meaning we didn't have, that was one of the first things we did. We thought, we felt like two virgins, that's what the album was called, because we were in love, just met, and we were trying to make something. And we thought to show everything. People always looking at people like me, trying to see some secret, or what do they do, Do they go to the bathroom? Do they eat?
Do you?
I do, quite a lot, And we just said, here, And that was in 1968, and all hell broke loose. But now they're jumping around naked all over the place, right?
Yes, they are, as a matter of fact.
Right, so we were just ahead of our time.
What difficulties are there for people who are in the public eye, who know, as you and Yoko did, that whatever you do, it's going to be picked up in the press, and you really can't go out and, I suppose, have a quiet dinner or go to the park or go to a movie or something like that? What difficulties are there in your life when there's such adulation for you and such curiosity about what you do all the time?
Well, that's cool, because that's part, I reckon that's part of the...
What, part of the territory?
You know? Yeah. But, you see, having gone through the Beatlemania thing, nowadays it's nothing like that. I mean, I can walk down the street and somebody will say, "Oh, hi, John," and they usually say, "How's your immigration?" you know, if it's in New York, right? And they don't hassle me. I might sign one autograph, two autographs, you know? And I don't get hassled. And I went through that period where I actually couldn't go anywhere. And so now it's like heaven. I can go and eat. We go and eat. We go to the movies. We go wherever we want. If there's an announcement, like there's an opening and everybody's going to be there, you get a lot of noise and cameras and flashbulbs. But if we just decide to go to dinner, it's cool, you know? We're probably less recognizable than you now, being on every night.
I doubt that.
You're on every night. You kidding?
But it doesn't make any difference, because when you were on, you had 35, 40, 50 million people. I'll never forget the time that you came to Los Angeles. I was working there for Channel 5, and you were giving a concert at, I don't remember where it was. Hollywood Bowl, is that right? Thank you. And there were the lines for the tickets, and there was all the attendant publicity prior to the appearance and everything else. And one of our reporters went out and covered all this, and he came back and he said, "It's going to be wild out there tonight." And I, because I'm not very smart, went on the air and I said, "Well, if you'd like to know where the Beatles are, call this guy, and his home number is." And I mean, his phone didn't stop ringing for 4 days. It was just an obscenity. And I wish that if he's watching, I'm sorry I did that. And so your viewability or your visibility is so tremendously high, or at least was then, and I just wondered if it had kind of slopped over into your career now.
No, I mean, I can get around now, you know. I can get, I'm glad too. I don't miss it. I'm glad it happened, but I don't miss it.
Yeah,
like
in spite of the boredom, in spite of the fact that maybe there were little dissensions, those were good times for you.
Oh, huh? Yeah. I mean, the boredom was in the music. I mean, that came after all the Beatlemania.
Did you save your money?
What we could get our hands on, yeah.
What do you mean, what you could get your hands on?
Well, a lot of it got siphoned off before we even got near it, you know. I mean, we didn't know anything about business or anything like that, you know. And there's a lot of money. There's a lot of millionaires around this world, so, yeah. But that's part of the action, too.
I'll try to make this the last question I ask about the past and about the Beatles. You must watch what your former colleagues are doing, and do you derive satisfaction from it? Are you happy for their successes?
Yeah. I'm most happy, I guess we all are in a way, for Ringo's success, because the other three of us, you know, it always went round Ringo was dumb, but he ain't dumb. But he didn't have that much of a writing ability, and he wasn't known for writing his own material. And there was a bit of a worry that, you know, although he can make movies, and he does make movies, and he's good at it, that how was his recording career going to be? I mean, in general, it's probably better than mine, actually. So he's
and
doing
what's
all right.
amazing is that he's done it with some songs that were popular when you and I were both teenagers in this country.
A lot of You're 16 and things like that, stuff that, yeah.
Oh, My.
Well, I think he wrote that. Is that an oldie?
Only You?
Oh, Only You. I suggested that for him.
You did?
Yeah.
Now, why is it that those songs done by Ringo Starr achieved this popularity when they were popular 20 years ago?
Because a good song is a good song.
Okay.
You know, and you can jazz it up or do it with whatever rhythm you like. But if the song is there, it stands.
When musical groups become successful, or musicians, or really when anybody in the public eye becomes successful, immediately there are rumors about their personal lives, and I suppose the fact that some people are caught in the possession of certain unlawful substances like marijuana or cocaine or LSD or speed. A lot of people say that's all they do. They smoke a lot of grass, they eat a lot of LSD, they're all acid heads, and they're all rocked out. How much of it is there going on in truth?
I wouldn't know, you know. I mean, what do I know?
Come on, John. Come on.
I know as much as you.
Come on.
In
well,
truth, how much of it goes on where? You know, it depends.
Well, in your little coterie of friends.
My friends are as clean as a whistle.
I'm sure they are, as a hound's tooth, in the words of General Eisenhower. But
I'd say there was as much dope in the music business as there is in virtually any other business now. That dope is so out in the open, that you can go anywhere and it's there. So there's no sort of underground movement of people taking dope, you know. The most extraordinary straight people are taking dope, including cocaine. It's available anywhere at any time, and it's all over the place. If you want it, you can have it, you know?
And it's no more predominant or prevalent in your industry than it is in insurance, in retailing, and in selling tires. Is that what you're saying?
I think you'll find a lot of middle-class people in their mid-30s who grew up in the 60s have marijuana and now cocaine around like you'd have a glass of wine. You know, I'm not saying it's good, you know, and cocaine's not too good for you at all, you know, but I'm saying that it's there, and a lot of perfectly, quotes, ordinary people use it.
If you were to be approached by the National Council on Drug Addiction, or whatever the name of the agency is, to make one of those little films that run on television, you'd say, "Hi, I'm John Lennon, and I like to tell all young people that dope is a bummer and cocaine is bad." Would you do that? I mean, do you believe that strongly in that?
It would depend how the advert was made, you know, because you can't bull blank the kids, because they know more about dope than I do now. There's drugs on the market that I don't even know what they are, you know. And so if it was done the way I would like to do it, I might do it.
How would you like to do it?
I'd have to think about it. I'd have to talk to whoever asked me to do it, you know. I mean, it's no good me saying, "Hey, dope is bad, don't do it." You know, they say, "What? So what? Who are you?" You know.
Well, you have a certain following among young people, and they might listen to you, whereas they would not listen to Yasha Heifetz, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but people, there's an illusion that just because somebody buys your record that they're going to do what you tell them. It doesn't work that way. If I tell them, go jump in a river, just because they buy my record?
No, not at all. But certainly, you'd be surprised how people who appear on television or people who appear before audiences are looked towards for some kind of personal insight into the world or their own lives that a lot of times those people don't even have.
Yeah, they might ask questions of famous people, but in actuality, you cannot tell people anything. They have to find out for themselves. I mean, you can leave signposts saying, you know, it's dangerous here, or you can fall over there, but in reality, you know, it's no good telling people anything. They have to find out.
What part did drugs play in leading to the present circumstance in which you find yourself? And I think we can tell that part, and then we'll bring
Leon Wilds.
Mr. Wilds out, and he will be here for the discussion of your immigration procedure.
In the late 60s, there was a headhunting cop who was not very high up in the drug department in London, which was pretty new anyway. They had 2 dogs for the whole department. And he went round and bust every pop star he could get his hands on, and he got famous. And some of the pop stars had dope in the house, and some of them didn't. It didn't matter to him. He planted it or did whatever. Later on, that's what he did to me, because at that time I didn't have any drugs. And
He planted something in your house. He planted marijuana in your house, didn't he? Or you say he did.
Yeah, I mean, I say he did. I know.
Well, I have to say that because I wasn't there.
Well, he's not going to get us. We're in America, all right? He's in jail now, by the way, because he later got to be top dog, and he had a big drug scandal thing going, like the one that was going over here, the big investigation in the New York police when I was first here, the one, the Serpico thing. Well, we had a little one in England, which happened after I left, and he was caught in Australia, trying to escape. You know, the English always run to Australia thinking they're going to vanish there. You know? So he was caught. And I didn't think about...
Can't vanish in Australia. Everybody knows it's down there.
Yeah, but they always have the illusion if you go to Australia, you get away with it. You know?
Sure.
And I at the time didn't even think I was bust. And to cut a long story, that he planted me, to cut a long story short, I'd just moved into an apartment, and I'd had everything moved from my other apartment. It was all over the place. So I thought, well, maybe this is a bit of the hash that was left over, and I'd forgotten all about it. Possibly that was what happened, you know. And I just copped a plea, you know. He said, I won't get you for obstruction if you cop a plea. And I thought, oh, it's $100 or whatever, you know. It's no skin off my nose, little thinking it would reverberate. And he said, oh, you know, I'll let your missus go, you know, because they never... In England at that time, the law was, if it was in this building, Mr. NBC would be caught for it. You know, he was responsible for it, even if he wasn't living there. That was the law then.
You mean that if an officer of the law were to come in here and they were to find an unlawful substance upon these premises, John, that the president of this television network would be liable to arrest if that law were in effect?
That was an English law at the time that's been changed. So you better put it out.
No, this is... No. Oh, come on. Don't do that to old Tom. See that old